Ho, ho, ho! This is Santa Claus here reminding you to subscribe to my block's strongest man. Get him to 1K by New Year's Day. Subscribe to my block's strongest man. He's put out 104 videos for you in only 5 months this year to enjoy, and is certainly on my nice list. And he's going to add to it tonight by telling you what would have happened if the Albatross, Tom Stoltman, had descended upon the Shaw Classic and competed. Enjoy. Ho, ho, ho! Ciao, homie.
Welcome to My Block's Strongest Man, where we bring attention to the world of strongman and show you how you can mimic those activities using everyday objects all around your own property. If you haven't done so yet, consider subscribing, and remember to hit that bell button for all notifications so you'll know whenever I provide all the valuable content every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. So without further ado, on to today's topic. What's up, strongest men, women, and children from blocks all around the world? I am My Block's Strongest Man, and thank you very much, Santa, for the warm welcome and the great wishes to push me to 1K by New Year's Day. I'm doing my best to give everybody great content. So as you mentioned, tonight we're going to talk about the Shaw Classic once again, but reminisce about what may have happened if Tom the Albatross Stoltman had descended upon Colorado and competed with all of the other Shaw Classic competitors. What would have happened? And I want to give thanks to my loyal subscriber base. I have the best subscribers in all of YouTube, and a big shout out to Marco for giving me this idea. Marco, this video is for you and for the rest of the community, and I'm going to do you proud and give you some great analysis like I always do. So, taking a look at what actually did happen at the Shaw Classic, as we see, Brian Shaw, to the surprise of many and not to others, like Van Awesome, my buddy, Brian Shaw won his own Shaw Classic in first place. He was followed in second by J.F. Caron, third by Alexei Novikov, fourth by Trey Mitchell, 5 Jerry Pritchett, 6 Adam Bishop, 7 Luke Stoltman, and it took a lot of heat in comments about how could you possibly have Luke Stoltman predicted last, and my answer to that was, well, Terry Hollins had to bow out, and Luke Stoltman beat really only 2 guys, so I was really only off by 2 places, and what's the big deal? Anyway, I guess some viewers of YouTube videos want you to always get everything right, and even like Big Laws doesn't always get everything right, so I'm cool with that. So then we had Maxime coming in 8th, Kevin Ferris 9, and Terry Hollins, again, who I said had to pull out with an injury, came in 10th place. No disrespect there, right? Still one of the top strongmen in all of the world. So this is how it all broke out. Now, what do I think would happen if Tom Stoltman would have competed? Well, you know what we do. We analyze. So we got to take a look at what he did at World's Strongest Man. And we all know what he did at World's Strongest Man. Tom Stoltman came in second at World's Strongest Man. So if we go take a look at the results here, Tom Stoltman came in second only to Alexei Novikov at World's Strongest Man. He did that by getting 6 points in the loading medley, which was that medley of anvil carry into the aforementioned imbalanced yoke, which I can't get out of my mind that it was imbalanced. And then we had the keg toss, which he won with 10 points. Then we went into the log ladder, which he also won with 10 points. Then we went into the deadlift, which he tied Brian Shaw with 5.5 points. The Hercules hold, only 2. And the Atlas Stones, he won with 10 points. Won as expected, I might add. So, how does that translate over to the Shaw Classic? Well, let's go have a look at what the Shaw Classic events were again. So we had a log press, a max log press, which we didn't have at World's Strongest Man. There was a log press for reps, and then there was a log ladder in the finals. So we're going to have to extrapolate a little bit to try to get to where I think he would have placed, and we'll move over to where I think Tom Stoltman would place. I won't make you wait too long. Give you the answer, and then we'll go into the analysis. So, question is, would Tom Stoltman take his second place finish and translate it over and finish second here too? Would he have displaced Brian Shaw as first? Would he have displaced Alexei Novikov as third? One of those is true. he would have displaced Alexei Novikov at third. So, interestingly enough, let's take a look at who replaced whom in terms of injuries and other reasons for having to leave the Shaw Classic. So we had Big Z at one point was expected to make it to the Shaw Classic. From the very beginning, he was announced by Brian Shaw. He was replaced by Kevin Ferris. As far as I can get the timelines and Brian Shaw's announcements down and Instagram updates down, this is what I think happened. Big Z was replaced by Kevin Ferris. Robert Oberst, who was the last to have to leave because of his family situation, was replaced by Trey Mitchell. Mateusz Kieliszkowski and Rob Kearney were replaced by Evan Singleton and Graham Hicks. I don't know if it's that order, but those two guys, who in turn also were injured and had to be replaced by Alexei Novikov and Luke Stoltman. So the interesting point there is that Brian Shaw reached out to the Stoltman brothers together. Luke said yes. Tom said no because he'd rather spend his time preparing for Britain's Strongest Man. And so if Tom had said yes, he would have taken Alexei Novikov's place at the Shaw Classic. Alexei would not have gotten the call from what I can extrapolate. So that's really interesting, and that leads us to ask, well then, would Tom come in third place like Alexei would? And the easy answer is yes, sure. But I don't do easy, I do analysis. So I want to give you a breakdown of event by event why I believe that would happen based on what we've recently seen Tom do. So, starting off with the log press, I believe Luke would still win the log press like he did, and then I believe the second lowest weight on the log press would now be split among 4 guys instead of 3. So, whereas the actual results had a split with Brian Shaw, Trey Mitchell, and Maxime Boudreau at the second highest weight of 440 pounds, I believe Tom Stoltman would also lift 440 pounds, making it a 4-way split and now 7.5 points each. And so, how did I get there? Well, again, we didn't have an exact max log at World's Strongest Man, but we had other log events. And so, for example, here, in this day, Tom had the dumbbell clean and press, so he didn't have the log lift for reps. But if we go to the finals here, he did have the log ladder, and as mentioned, he got 10 points. He won the log ladder. So I have to give him kind of the utmost consideration that he would do really, really well here. And I've kind of been smacked in the face a little bit in the past for not saying Luke Stoltman would win log. So I gotta say Tom would do as well as he possibly could at the Shaw Classic log press, except beating his brother. So I have him tied for second place. And so that, of course, may move some of the other guys around. Going to Super Yoke, we then have to go see what he did at the finals in World's Strongest Man in that medley. And so in that loading medley, which was the only event at World's Strongest Man that had a yoke, a different yoke, like again, I keep harping on this, but Brian's yoke was balanced. World's Strongest Man had weights on 3 sides. Just saying. So Tom Stoltman with that loading medley had 6 points at World's Strongest Man. So who beat him? Well, Adam Bishop, Alexei Novikov, who now in this fantasy scenario is not in the picture anymore because Tom would replace Alexei. So Adam Bishop did better at World's Strongest Man. Jerry Pritchett did better. And Kevin Ferris did better. So those guys are all competing at the Shaw Classic except for Alexei. So that's why I gave Tom Stoltman here 7 points. I did not knock down JF Caron. I left him as the winner. And then Brian Shaw, I left him as second. Jerry Pritchett next. And then I have Tom Stoltman right there after him. I have him beating Trey in the Super Yoke. So, moving on to Farmers. I gave him 6 points. Why did I give him 6 points? Well, Farmers happened at World's Strongest Man. And so that was, not this day. Where's my other day? Here we go. Farmers Walk was day 1. And so Tom Stoltman was Group 3. And in Group 3, he was defeated in his group by Maxime Boudreau and Alexei, who again is not in this fantasy scenario anymore. So who else did better than Tom in the farmer's walk that everybody had to complete at World's Strongest Man? Well, he did it he did 42.78 meters. So a different farmers than what Brian had them do. Brian had them do a given distance for time. This was how far can you go. So this was a little different, but we have to take the closest evidence that we have at hand, the most recent evidence. So Tom had 42.78 meters. Maxime beat him, and then Jerry beat him, and then no one else in that group. I'm going by people that were at the Shaw Classic, right? So we have Jerry Pritchett, we have Kevin Ferris, we have Maxime, we have JF, and Terry Hollins, and that's it. So those are the guys that did better from every group than Tom Stoltman did in that event. And so that to me translates into giving Tom 6 points on the farmers. I believe that Jerry would still win. I believe that Maxime would still come in second. I believe that Kevin would still come in third. Brian would still come in fourth. And Tom Stoltman would fit in right after that, doing just better than JF Caron. So that's where I got that point. Deadlift. So JF was always going to set a record, and Jerry Pritchett was always going to be right behind him, so I won't change that. And then we have, after that, so that's 10, 9 points, then 8 points would still go to Adam Bishop. I don't think Tom would outdo him there. And then 7 would still go to Trey. Trey had a really, really good set of deadlifts at the Brian Shaw Classic. He was just so methodical and smooth, and I don't think Tom would beat him either. I think Tom comes in at the next weight right below that, which is only 20 pounds less, right? So this 1,040-pound mark that Brian Shaw did, I think Tom Stoltman ties him there. And so then, of course, that makes Kevin Ferris have 4 points, Luke Stoltman 3, Maxime 2. And Terry Hollins is out at this point. That's why there's no 1-pointer. And so you'll see some of these make the ties different and shift guys around a little bit differently from what they were before. So if you were to look at the actual results, you had JF, Jerry, Adam, Trey Mitchell, and then the 5.5s remain. So that one doesn't seem to have shifted. Then moving on to the Circus dumbbell. So, again, Circus happened at World's Strongest Man, and it was here, and Tom did it. So, Tom did 4 reps with the Circus dumbbell. This was a medley, so this one was lifting several pairs of dumbbells and then lifting the monster dumbbell with the large grip for as many reps as you could, and Tom had 4. So what I did here was I thought the best comparison there was, let's see how his brother did in the same event at World's Strongest Man, because for all these arguments about there being Brian having an edge because he's used to the thinner air and all that, which I don't necessarily buy into, but if you're going to consider that argument, Luke and Tom are from the same town, so Luke and Tom both did 4 reps on this event at World's Strongest Man. So I would think Luke and Tom would both do the same number of reps again at the Shaw Classic. And so if we pop back over to that, how many did Luke do? Luke did 2 reps on the Circus, which got him 5.5 points. So I think Tom would also do 2 reps, getting him that share of the 5.5 points. Which before, I believe, was 6.5, because now we're splitting it by more people. Let's see. Sorry, it actually does Luke a favor. So Luke had 4.5 split with Trey Mitchell. Now, since we're splitting it more ways, it bumps up to 5.5, because you have Brian Shaw winning it now because there is no Alexi. So everybody gets bumped up a point. So this is what I meant about some people getting shifted around. This is where it was most obvious in the Circus. Brian kind of moves up to the top there. And so I think Tom, Trey Mitchell, Luke Stoltman, and Kevin Ferris get a 4-way share of that 5.5 points at 2 reps each. By the way, I think I mentioned this on previous videos, but Kevin Ferris had 2 more reps that were really, really close to counting. They were, I guess strictly speaking, and I'm not a judge or a referee in strongman, but strictly speaking, I guess you could say he didn't have full control for long enough, but he had full control for like a millisecond. I mean, like he got it up over his head. Like if we were lifting in my garage, I would count it. So he got credit for 2, but like was very, very close to getting credit for 4. So we should talk about in another video how that would have changed things around for his placing. So anyway, that's where I think Tom Stoltman finishes in the Circus. So 5.5 points there. And I just looked at the timings, right? So Brian Shaw finished all the stones, JF finished all the stones, and Trey Mitchell finished all the stones. They were the only 3 to finish all 6 stones. Brian took 35.68 seconds to finish 6 stones. Now, the weights could have been a bit different at World's Strongest Man, but if we go look there, Tom Stoltman did 5 stones there in 19.89 seconds. So let's see if I actually noted down what the, so they were 330 pounds to 462. That's actually heavier, I believe, because the Shaw Classic started at 290. So if we go up to my notes here, 290 up to, so they start slightly lighter and end slightly lighter at the Shaw Classic than they did at World's Strongest Man, but there's an extra stone. So I refuse to believe that it would take Tom Stoltman from 19.89, let's call it 20 seconds. I refuse to believe it would take him another 15 to 16 seconds to do one more stone, given how strong he is with stones and how much heavier than a 450-pound stone he's lifted in his career. So I think Tom, in the Atlas stones, takes the 10 points that Brian used to have, and Brian moves down to 9, and that basically shifts everybody else down 1 point. Trey Mitchell ends up with 8, JF Caron with 7. Where was Alexi here? So Alexi had 7 points on the stones, and now those 7 points would go to JF Caron. And so Stoltman would have 6, Maxime 5, Adam Bishop 4, Kevin Ferris 3, and then 2 points to Jerry Pritchett. And again, there is no 1-pointer because Terry Hollins was out of the competition by this point. So that being said, you can see I haven't hidden the points totals from you. The point totals for Tom Stoltman, I believe, would be 41.5, which would put him in 3rd place. Brian Shaw would remain in 1st. JF Caron would be in 2nd. He would remain in 2nd place. Tom Stoltman would take Alexei Novikov's place in the 3rd placing, and then everybody else, let's see. So Trey was 4, Jerry was 5, Adam Bishop was 6, and so now Luke Stoltman would move up to 6 in this new scenario. He actually finished 7th, but in my new scenario with Tom Stoltman shaking things up a bit, Luke would move up a placing to 6th place. Adam Bishop would be 7th, so they would transpose with each other. Maxime would be 8th, as he was. Kevin Ferris 9th, as he was. And Terry Hollins 10th, as he was. So, if the Albatross Tom Stoltman had competed in the Shaw Classic, my final word and summary is that he would have taken Alexei Novikov's place in 3rd place at the Shaw Classic. He would not have won it, and he would not have duplicated his 2nd place finish at World's Strongest Man. He would have been in 3rd, and he would have, by virtue of points juggling, moved his brother up a spot as well, moving Adam Bishop down a spot. So, Marco, hope you like that analysis. I tried to give you all of the little bits and pieces on how I got to the final result, and give me some more great ideas like this. This was a really good idea for a video that I think thousands and thousands of people are going to love. So thanks again. Happy holidays to you. I'll do some more Christmas-themed stuff coming up, but we'll see you again next time, and of course, as always, ciao, homie. So if you like this video and want to learn more about any of the products I described during this video, make sure to check out the links in the description below. So if you like this video and haven't done so yet, please consider subscribing using that button right there. And also stay tuned for some other videos that you might love blooping up right there. This one is the one that YouTube thinks that you will like the best, and this one is the one that I think you will like the best. As always, share this with everyone, and until next time, ciao, homie.